Good day and welcome to this grow along video where we're going to be planting asparagus crowns into containers. We're using 30-litre black plastic containers. We used them last year to grow potatoes in, and because asparagus has quite a lot of time before it actually gets to be able to be harvested well, you need to make sure that the containers that you're using, you'll be able to keep as asparagus crown containers for at least 4 or 5 years. Now, unlike asparagus, when you put it in the ground, there is a limited life to asparagus crowns in containers. If you do an asparagus bed, you might be harvesting from that bed for 20 or 25 years. When you do asparagus in containers, that length of life is shortened quite significantly. And I think we'll be looking at being able to harvest some in a year's time, because we're planting crowns, not sowing seeds. And then we'll most probably get a harvest for 3, 4, potentially 5 years. But effectively, the life of an asparagus plant in the ground is far longer than it is in a container. So do be aware of that. But you know what? We were given these we were bought these crowns by a subscriber who said, I would love to see how they go for you in containers. And that's exactly what we're doing. Let me show you the crowns and let me show you what we are about to do. These are our asparagus crowns. This is the crown right at the top where the roots join together. And all of this is roots. And you'll see that some have got some growth on. You can just see that one's got a little bit of growth on it, as has this one. This one's virtually got a whole asparagus. This one here and here have got no growth on whatsoever. I'm going to be popping these into water for about an hour just to make sure that those roots, which are not dry at the moment, but just to make sure that they are covered in water so that they start fattening up and soaking up a bit. But what I'm also going to do in the meantime is just go through, I'm not sure if you can see here, go through each of the roots and check that they're solid and they're firm. This root here, I think you can see, there's nothing in it. So that root I'm just going to pull off from the crown. So I'm going to go through all of these roots now and check that there are no roots like this which are effectively thin and dead at the top. Asparagus likes a really rich growing medium. So this is a mixture of very well rotted farmyard manure. It's actually a bagged variety, but it's also been around for a year on our plot. And New Horizon vegetable compost. And that's all been mixed together. So the well rotted farmyard manure and the New Horizon peat-free vegetable compost has been well mixed together. As asparagus do not like having wet roots, we're also going to be using horticultural grit, which will be in the base of the 30-litre pots before we start putting the compost in. Let's start with that. This is the 30-litre black plastic container that we're using. You can see there's drainage holes at the bottom. Though, as I say, to improve drainage, we're now going to put grit into the bottom. There's about 3/4 of an inch of grit in there. Now I'm going to start putting compost in, and I'm going to fill it up to about 3/5. If there's any clumps as you go, take them out. Just use your fingers to just press down. Now I'm sort of starting building a little cone in the centre. So it's a little cone here. This root has now been soaking for about an hour, and you just want to spread out the roots. You'll find that they will find their own way, but spread out the roots so that they have a little bit of space to themselves. So that's just sitting on a little mound. Now we're filling it up. Well, not filling it, but we're covering the roots up to the crown. Again, use your fingers to make sure that everything is nicely in contact. Quite windy here today. Right, that's my rich compost, filling it up. You can just see it there. Now I'm going to just put some multi-purpose compost on top. So this is just multi-purpose compost. Again, this is a peat-free variety. We use New Horizon, and that really is just acting as a mulch. That's how my dad used to grow asparagus in containers, and that's how we're growing asparagus in containers. Our 6 pots of planted out asparagus crowns. These are a variety called Backlim. So fingers crossed. Those pots will be left in a sunny position. I think they're actually going to go where we put our early potatoes last year, because it gets quite a lot of sun there. And one thing that we will be making sure we do is weed those. The reason that we've put that mulch on top of multi-purpose compost is to keep any seeds that go in there and germinate, to keep them really shallow rooted so that we can take them out. Those asparagus roots are going to be in that soil for the whole of its life, and we really don't want any weed seeds or grass seeds getting down below to get in between those roots, because the weeds will start taking nutrients away from the asparagus roots, which of course is going to weaken that growth and therefore weaken the amount of harvest that we get from each of the asparagus tubs. Each year we will be mulching and making sure that the top is enriched so that any of the nutrients in the mulch can go down into that compost, enrich those roots for another growing season, and then fingers crossed. Next year we will very likely not be harvesting from, actually just thinking about it, we will not be harvesting from most of them. We may harvest from 1 or 2 and see how that affects the harvest from years going forward. But certainly 4 of them, we will just be leaving them to grow their asparagus shoots, to get that growth going, to get up and have all those frilly fronds that are just glorious, to then cut those down in the autumn. And then hopefully not next year, but in 2 years' time, we'll start harvesting decent harvests from each of those pots. Fingers crossed. As long as we keep weed free and give good moisture to those, they should grow well. It's interesting, I haven't grown asparagus for very many years. I think the last time I grew them was when I was about 8. So what's that? That's 46 years ago. And Dad and I did this in exactly the same way. Slightly different containers, but with the grit, with the compost, with the mound. And we got decent harvest 46 years ago. So fingers crossed for the future. Anyway, we've got a good amount of grow along videos up now, so do have a look at our grow along playlist. Of course, there's a week at the plot that comes out each week as well, and that's the work that we've been doing on the plot each week. And yeah, there's lots of other videos as well, including cookery. Look after yourselves. Any questions or comments, please put them down below. And I'll see you very soon for another grow along video, which I think will be about planting some peas out and doing some pea sowing direct. See you soon. Bye.